Hello, and welcome to another Media Briefs episode from Media Voices. Short, sharp episodes sponsored by vendors who are working with publishers to make their businesses better. This episode I'm speaking with John Rahim, Senior Consultant at AI publishing platform Purple. Purple has been supporting publishers worldwide since 2007 and today serves over 600 publishing brands in 10 countries. I started our conversation by asking John to tell me more about Purple and what the platform can do for publishers.
Purple was founded about 15 years ago. Our parent company is a company called Spiralab Technologies, which has been going for about 20 years in Germany. Publishing software essentially consists of two key components. Purple Editorial, which is our headless CMS that has some quite clever AI features, which allows people to create multiple versions of the content, to A/B tests, create metadata, and so forth. And it also includes AI features around areas such as entity recognition, link building, and so forth as well. We also have integrations with third parties that provide planning tools, social media tools, and the like. The other part of the Purple publishing suite is Purple Experience, and Purple Experience is our front-end mechanism which allows you to publish to the web, to the mobile web, obviously, to app, and to other kind of third-party channels if you so desire.
So Purple is a publishing software. When a publisher calls you up and they say, "Hello, I'm a publisher, I've got a problem," what are the typical problems that they're trying to solve?
Yeah, so there tends not to be one single problem that publishers have. The most common problems that they have is that their existing technology, their MarTech stack and their CMS hasn't really moved with the times, so it isn't really be able to deliver the sort of content that they need to produce for the audiences that they have. Also, we tend to find that sometimes the CMSs have not really been kind of focused that closely around the absolute needs of the newsroom. So as a consequence to that, they quite often are using a system which isn't really kind of built specifically for publishers, or alternatively doesn't really have potentially interactive features or features which allow them to create content which then they can publish automatically to, say, for example, social channels. Or it could even be that they're looking for a CMS that allows them to do live blogging so that journalists can actually kind of update stories as they go. So it really can be a myriad of different reasons, but those kind of are the main ones. And also occasionally a publisher may be looking at really kind of re-engineering the entire kind of marketing stack, and in which case the CMS is really kind of like the key kind of element of their content production. So as a consequence of that, they then will kind of come to us and potentially other vendors and work with us to actually kind of find out the best solution to their particular requirements. Whilst most of the work that we do is digitally focused, we work with a lot of traditional print companies as well. So for those organizations, it's very important that we've got a mechanism to take content directly out of the content management platform and actually kind of ingest it into print templates. It could be InDesign templates, it could be other sort of templates. And that we have a operating model and a workflow which allows publishers to kind of facilitate the creation of content across all channels, predominantly digital, but in many cases, there'll also be a print element of that as well. So ensuring that we have that kind of process for them.
The print thing's interesting. Anyone that follows me knows that I bang on about print. I think it is a real place in this sort of modern media landscape. I love the fact that we're still having this digital transition conversation, because it's easy to think, oh yeah, we've done that, it's done, it's over. But from what you're saying, people are still working on this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, in many cases, print is important. It is a channel which in many cases is becoming a secondary vehicle in many respects. But when companies are looking at kind of selecting software packages or looking at their workflow, they really have to look across, the spectrum, and it's really not ideal if the people who are creating the content for their app or for the website or on the social media channels don't have the ability to then also to think about actually how do they create that content and deliver that content across print. I mean, what we've found certainly within the DACH region is perhaps has a slightly kind of greater kind of focus on print than perhaps some other kind of European regions. And many of the clients that we have might now only be producing print, say, on a infrequent basis. So we've got some publishers, some newspaper publishers who used to print every day. They now print maybe once or twice a week. The rest of the time it's supplemented obviously by the digital channels and the content that they push out across the various channels. And then, we've got other clients who are traditionally magazine publishers that are using our platform now actually to manage their kind of print production process for the magazines, which may be monthly magazines, but they might actually update their website on a pretty much daily basis. They update the social media certainly on a daily basis, and they may be updating the app on a weekly basis. So it really kind of depends on the requirements of the individual clients. But I'd say even in 2024, there is still a place for print, and it certainly isn't dead with most clients.
I'm thinking about all these, this transition and maybe technology cycles. I've worked with a variety of different CMSs, and like everything else, CMS technology moves on. Is there a cycle there? Do you see companies that got a CMS, 5, even 10 years ago, now desperately needing to upgrade? Do you see this flurry of companies every 5 years or so saying, oh, we need a new CMS?
Yeah, I mean, typically people will look at their overall kind of marketing technology probably every 5 years or thereabouts and see whether or not it actually kind of is delivering effectively and whether or not it's economical and whether or not they should be building certain technologies internally or kind of buying technologies externally. So what we tend to find is because our technology, the Purple Editor, is updated pretty much on a quarterly basis, so we'll have continual feature kind of releases being pushed through, is that most of our clients tend to stick around and stay with us for quite a reasonable kind of length of time because we're continually speaking to the clients about the additional features that they want and then actually kind of adding them on an incremental basis on the basis of how popular and how kind of mission critical those particular items are. So, for example, there's a lot of talk now around how to create video content out of your CMS for social channels such as TikTok. This is something which perhaps even like a year ago, or certainly a year ago, people weren't really kind of thinking about kind of creating directly out of the CMS. This was something which was normally done by different social media teams, but companies now actually kind of want to have the workflow process pretty much streamlined. So we're kind of looking into those sorts of areas which we're probably going to be developing and releasing in Q1 of 2025. There's also been certainly within the B2B sector, a real focus around interactive graphs and being able to create data which is easy to understand from the customer's kind of perspective. And again, some of the older kind of CMSs are unable to do that. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of our kind of newspaper publishing clients, they're breaking stories. They're releasing content not just on a twice a day, but if there's a breaking story, they have to have facilities within the CMS to be able to live blog and push that content out there on a very, very, very kind of frequent basis. And a lot of the older CMSs weren't really set up for that. They were pretty much set up for companies that were producing content on maybe a weekly or a monthly basis, or perhaps even daily basis. I guess everybody's going to have a different kind of view. And if you are an organization that you are kind of changing quite quickly in the way that you're developing content and kind of exporting that content to different audiences and different channels, you may be looking at this every couple of years. Most clients would probably look at their MarTech stack on a 5-year basis, but they'd be expecting the technology to be updated incrementally during that period of time as well.
So don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to predict the next 5 years because God knows what that'll look like. But if you look maybe a year out, towards, into 2025 and towards the end of 2025, what are the big things that people should really be paying attention to, both from a CMS point of view, but also maybe from a broader audience point of view?
Yeah, good question. So looking kind of broadly, there's a number of areas that is coming up on a kind of regular basis. So one of the areas is really around the use of chatbots. So a lot of publications will have a huge amount of content on a particular topic. So there's an American newspaper who have developed, I think there's about 17 different chatbots about different topics where they have a huge amount of kind of content. And they've got one on climate, which provides people who have got interest in climate change and have very specific questions to be able to ask the chatbot individual kind of questions about rising sea levels within a particular territory or whatever kind of question they may have. And then that content is then kind of automatically taken from the CMS and kind of presented to that person in a somewhat kind of personalized kind of fashion. I think tools like that are going to become more important. I think also we're going to have the audience teams within the kind of work within the digital publishing sphere working much closer with the people who are actually kind of creating the content and managing the content directly within the CMS. I've spoken to quite a few publishers about this, and they really want to make sure that the people who are actually kind of working the audience team, who are responsible for the creation of the social media posts, for the monetization through to kind of editing content in order for that to be used on newsletters or alternatively to third parties such as Apple News Plus in the UK and others that exist elsewhere in Europe. I can see those teams, if not merging, certainly kind of working much more in concert together. And the other third area is really around the use of AI. So everybody's very worried about the impact of AI. And I also have obviously concerns like everybody else does. But I guess there's two ways of looking at it. And the first way is, how do you use AI as a tool, as an efficiency tool, which essentially you use in order to make your life easier when it comes to kind of creating that content and modifying the content for multiple different channels. So that area is an area that we've been kind of working quite closely with. So obviously kind of an integration with a large language model allows you within the CMS to be able to create multiple versions of the content. It also allows you to change metadata, descriptions, those sorts of areas, which would allow you to be able to do A/B tests much, much quicker. Also, we've got clients that are predominantly writing for print, and extremely long kind of print article obviously is not going to work online. So we can actually kind of change the length of the content quite quickly by using the tools which are already directly within the CMS. And then other areas within the AI side really kind of focuses around the monetization of the existing content that you have. So how do you take the content that you're writing using entity recognition software, which will then kind of index that particular piece of content against other similar sorts of articles that then can be used for hopefully increasing the engagement when people actually start kind of viewing that content. So those are the kind of like the areas that are becoming more and more kind of prevalent. In many respects, a lot of publishers are just kind of focused on the BAU, focused on trying to do the best job they possibly can with an eye for the future. I don't think anybody's really kind of cracked the whole kind of AI issue in many respects. There's a lot of content and concern about AI being used as a middleware where people are getting the software to write articles and then that article being approved by an editor or somebody before being kind of pushed out. That's not particularly ethical, obviously, because the content from the large language models come from a variety of different sources. So if you were to do that, you'd at least need to tag it as AI-generated content. And certainly the consumer research that I've read is that most people who read content have a propensity to, I wouldn't say avoid AI-generated written content, but certainly have a preference to read content which has actually been written and kind of edited by a person, a human being, as opposed to a large language model. So those are the kind of like the kind of key areas that I think that we're going to be seeing more of next year. The importance of social media to publishers also cannot be underestimated. So the ability to be able to create content and push it out to social channels very, very quickly, especially when it's around kind of breaking events or celebrity information or celebrity news, absolutely key, key importance.
The idea is that you use AI not to create content, but to make it easier, more efficient, to repurpose content, and then to distribute content, and actually get ready to distribute content, maybe to places that we haven't quite thought about yet. Is that fair?
I think that is fair. Certainly the way that we're using AI currently within the Purple platform is around having content that we then can modify, change, do multiple versions of that content in order to help the newsroom or the person who's actually kind of editing or creating that content to have kind of multiple versions. And the second area, I guess, really then is around the monetization. So once you have that content, how can we use the AI tools to help the newsroom or the organization to better monetize that particular content? In the future, it is possible that companies will start to use generative AI to produce original content that will be either badged as original content or not. And the areas that this is currently being used tends to focus around topics such as the weather or traffic reports. So kind of topics that are not particularly sensitive. If you can use the AI tools to be able to kind of generate a traffic report or weather report based on the information that's coming in from another source, that's fine. And I think most consumers, if they knew that content was coming via AI, they probably would find that easier to kind of understand it in many respects. Where the conversation really lies in terms of the contention really is when you're using the AI tools, the large language models, to write new content that then is either pushed out to your site or any other kind of channel as original content, or isn't clearly marked as content that is that has been generated via AI. Perhaps in the next few years that will completely change, and people will be quite comfortable to read and hear AI generated content about areas such as sports and travel, weather, and who knows, maybe other topics as well. But it's still early days, and I think there's a lot of road currently for existing companies to use AI in a more kind of effective way.
Thanks so much to John for speaking with me. If you'd like to hear more from John, he'll be talking about Purple's tools for efficiency, automation and workflow management at a free webinar on Thursday, October the 10th. To register, go to purplepublish.com and look for webinars under the Discover tab, or go to voices.media. Find the registration link on the landing page for this episode. And while you're there, sign up for our new weekly publisher newsletter.